The full story of God of War Ascension begins with a beautiful cinematic that takes place even before the great war between the Titans and the Olympians. From the wrath of beings said to have created the very world itself, three entities are born. Not Titans, not gods, and beholden to no one. They are known as the Furies. Tasked with upholding honor and punishing traitors, the Furies were not feared by Zeus when he came to power, because in their eyes he had committed no wrongdoing. The first of these so-called traitors was Hecatonkir Aegeon. At one time he swore a blood oath to Zeus, but he broke his word. That's when the Furies stepped in. But instead of executing the beast, they condemned him to endless torture. They believed death would be a mercy for Aegeon. This punishment was meant to serve as a lesson to all. This is what happens when you break a blood oath to a god. Fans of the series likely remember Kratos once pledging himself to Ares. Destroy my enemies, and my life is yours. Ares accepted, and soon Kratos, consumed by power, began slaughtering in the god's name, eventually killing his own wife and child. That's where the first God of War game begins. Kratos, seeking revenge, spends the game in pursuit of Pandora's box. Returning to Ascension, this game is a prequel. It tells the story before everything we've known. After breaking his blood oath, Kratos falls into the clutches of the Furies. As he's bound and tortured, we meet the first sister I mentioned earlier, Alecto. Kratos, dodging her attacks, eventually binds her with a swift move and reclaims his twin blades, shifting from defense to full offense. This place is the prison of the damned. Many others like you, those who broke their oaths, are imprisoned here. While the game teaches you basic combos like square and triangle attacks, you chase down Megara and her parasites. These creatures can possess others, and they invade the body of Hecatonkir Aegeon, triggering your first mini-boss fight. The fight, which unfolds across 2 platforms, ends, for now, with Kratos using the beast's own arms to slit its throat. But make no mistake, Aegeon is no small or simple monster. After killing the second creature, Hecatonkir takes you inside. And here we see that the Furies didn't leave him alone even after killing him. They built a prison inside him. Kratos enters through a door and sees many women inside who want to be with him. One of them says, "This is nothing. Come with me and experience the greatest pleasure," as she takes Kratos' hand. He then notices the ring on her finger and realizes that it is an illusion. This is another Fury Sisters trick. When you get out of here and approach the end of the fight, we finally see the head of Hecatonkir. Instead of fighting you herself, Megara uses her parasites to bring this creature back to life. In the 2018 God of War game, while fighting a dragon, Atreus asked Kratos if he had ever killed something so big before. This could be the first giant creature that Kratos ever killed. Just like the 2 mini-boss fights we had earlier, Kratos drives them mad, first reaching Hecatonkir's head, and from there, Megara. He kills the first Fury sister quite easily and takes the amulet she was wearing. Since this amulet once belonged to the Oracle and later to Kratos, it somehow triggers a flashback. Kratos begins to remember the weeks leading up to his imprisonment, and the game takes us 3 weeks into the past. Our character sits in despair, his mind clouded and disoriented. As he begins to see things that aren't real, a shadowy figure appears. To help calm Kratos' mind, the figure offers him small keepsakes. Your mind drifts into illusions because of what has happened. Is this the life befitting a warrior? The truth awaits you in Delphi. Find the Oracle, Kratos, he says before disappearing. Our character from 3 weeks earlier, who will face many new enemy types, drives his blades into the fire of Ares, and we receive our first power upgrade. You can think of it as something like Spartan Rage. There is also a bit of irony in the fact that, while on the path to breaking his oath to Ares, Kratos gains power from him. Around 20 minutes later, you encounter Poseidon's ice, which not only allows you to breathe underwater, but can also be used to break enemy defenses. After releasing a snake-like structure and taking a rapid journey, you arrive at the Delphi Tower, and from there, obtain the power of Zeus's lightning. Once you've freed all 3 snakes and climbed the tower, you meet a man who, like you, wants to see the Oracle, and even brings her a gift to please her. Kratos, however, doesn't even acknowledge the man, continuing toward his goal with cold determination. Sadly, the poor man ends up as a snack for a dragon with a scorpion tail. After a short fight with the creature, Kratos uses the snakes to pull the temple closer to him, and now he's ready to meet the Oracle. Inside, you're introduced to a wide variety of enemy types and a new gameplay mechanic that allows you to manipulate time. Castor, obsessed with completing his own statues, is cruel enough to kill anyone who stands in his way. He serves as the temple's prophet. When the time manipulation ability is used, all structures begin to decay. Doors that couldn't be opened before become fragile and can shatter completely. It's a skill you'll frequently use to solve puzzles, collect hidden items, and reach the Oracle's chamber. Throughout the game, you gain the powers of 3 gods, and later, Hades joins them. With the power-up you receive by plunging your blade into the ground, you can summon souls from the underworld. When Kratos reaches the hourglass scene you just saw and shatters the glass, the platform descends. There, an old man greets him and tells him that he must offer a worthy sacrifice in order to meet the Oracle. In response, Kratos says, "I came to see the Oracle, and I offer no tribute," and walks right past the guard. At that moment, the man draws power from his amulet and, along with his conjoined twin hidden under his robe, suddenly becomes 40 years younger. This man possesses a far more advanced version of the time manipulation ability you used earlier. He can age all the structures around you, causing you to fall, and he can even demolish the entire temple just to kill you. He teleports around rapidly, but none of these powers can save him. Chronologically, this boss fight is actually the very first boss Kratos ever kills in the entire series. If you look closely, you'll notice that with every hit they take, they momentarily revert to their older forms. After knocking Castor unconscious, it's time to face his conjoined twin. Don't let the small size fool you. This little guy is powerful enough to lift the limp body of his brother into the air using magic. He can fly, teleport, slow down time in specific areas, and even create a protective shield for himself. This tiny conjoined man, named Pollux, realizes, "I can't defeat this man, so at least I'll stop him from reaching the Oracle," and throws the Oracle down into the depths. The battle continues, and after a quick-time event sequence, Kratos tears the surviving twin apart and retrieves the amulet of Ouroboros crystal, which belonged to the Oracle, from the corpse. The relic that serves as the source of Castor and Pollux's power has the ability to reveal the life and death of an object. After telling you this in the game, it doesn't show the wounded body of the Oracle for nothing. Now that Kratos' power to destroy and restore objects has reached a new level, he repairs the platform and reaches the Oracle, only to discover that the relic has no effect on her. Sensing Kratos' conflicted mind and clouded thoughts, the Oracle tells him that to escape this madness, he must defeat those tied to the god of war, those who still hold his chains. She also reveals that Orcos, the one who's been helping Kratos, means no harm, though he too is one of the Furies. Kratos' mind is hazy. He lives in a world of illusions, seeing things that aren't real. So how can he possibly defeat the Furies like this? That's when the Eyes of Truth, located in the Delos Lighthouse, come into play. Find the eyes. They will show you the path to freedom, the Oracle says before taking her final breath. Kratos sets out toward his next destination. On the ship he boards at the harbor, he once again encounters Orcos. When Kratos asks him, "What made you betray your own kind?" the answer he gets is, "You." I haven't covered it in a video yet, but in the very first God of War game, when Kratos loses a battle against the barbarian king, he desperately begs Ares to destroy his enemies, offering his life in return. But think about it. Would a mighty god of war like Ares really grant such a request to just anyone who begs? Of course not. This is where we learn that Kratos was chosen for a reason. Ares had a plan. He wanted to create the perfect warrior to overthrow Zeus. To bring this plan to life, Ares formed a union with Alecto, the queen of the Furies, and thus Orcos was born. Ares had hoped that by combining rage and madness, he would create the ultimate warrior. But Orcos turned out to be a disappointment. Ares disowned him, and it was only thanks to his mother's mercy that Orcos was spared. He was then given the role of the Oathkeeper. However, the unjust suffering that Kratos endured led Orcos to question his own family's actions, and ultimately to betray them. We learn that it was the Oracle who revealed Ares' plan to take over Olympus to Orcos. To ensure Kratos feels indebted to Ares, 3 blood sacrifices had been set in motion. He would spill the blood of his enemies, the blood of innocents, and finally, the blood of his own kin. After this cinematic ends, Kratos returns to the present timeline and realizes that all he needs to do now is take down the remaining two Furies. Remember at the start of the video, Kratos entered a room full of women eager to be with him? Now he steps into a similar chamber, and the king of Sparta appears before him, praising Kratos for serving with honor and claiming he's earned his place among Sparta's greatest generals. But Kratos quickly notices the ring on the king's finger, realizing it's all just another illusion. Without hesitation, he delivers a powerful kick, breaking through the illusion and snapping back to reality. Tisiphone says, "If neither the pleasures of the flesh nor the glory of power can bring you back to us, only one thing remains," and finally launches a direct attack on Kratos. During this assault, Kratos obtains a heart-like object and senses that he's now approaching a point where time illusions can no longer affect him. The game shifts back again, 2 weeks into the past. Now on Delos Island to retrieve the Eyes of Truth, Kratos encounters a new enemy type for the first and only time in the game. Don't be fooled by how cool they look. They're one-off enemies added just for flavor. Once again, trapped in an illusion, Kratos finds himself in Sparta. But thanks to the relic in his possession, he's able to cling to reality and doesn't succumb to the deception. Remember at the beginning of the game, Megara was missing an arm. But in this flashback, which takes place weeks earlier, she still has it. So now we understand why she showed such intense hatred toward Kratos and attacked him so relentlessly. It was because he ripped her arm off during this very battle. Since the sisters protect each other like real siblings, whenever Kratos is about to kill one of them, the other immediately intervenes, turning the fight into a 2-on-1. Of course, that's no real obstacle for Kratos. He beats Tisiphone so brutally that he eventually impales her on a sharp structure, killing her. Now there's only one sister left standing, and she's the strongest of them all, essentially their queen. She's also the one Ares fathered a child with. The game saves the most powerful one for last, Alecto. When Alecto pins Kratos to the ground with a gooey substance, we realize something. Tisiphone, whom we thought we just killed, wasn't really dead. It was yet another illusion. And since the game is still taking place 2 weeks in the past, technically, all three sisters are alive at that moment. Their desire to bring Kratos back into Ares' service isn't out of mercy. It's because they still hope he'll become the perfect warrior to overthrow Olympus. But Kratos refuses again and again, saying he'd rather die. After escaping with Orcos' help, the Furies destroy the only path that could lead Kratos to the Eyes of Truth, knowing he's after them. Orcos then gives him the Oath Stone, which Kratos uses to restore the statue of Apollo. Once he finally reaches the Eyes of Truth, Orcos reveals that it was the sisters, their own mothers, who cruelly tore the eyes from the oracle. Queen Alecto transforms herself into a sea monster, and in the middle of the ocean, we find ourselves battling both this kraken-like creature and Tisiphone at the same time. Throughout the entire series, everyone keeps telling Kratos, "You're just a mortal, you can't defeat us." But as you'll see in the later games, that's far from the truth. In this scene, which is reminiscent of the Poseidon boss fight from God of War 3, Kratos drives a spike through Alecto's head and plunges his sword deep into the hole in her forehead, signaling that the end is near. Tisiphone, in one last trick, turns herself into yet another illusion. This time, she takes the form of Kratos' wife. But Kratos hesitates for only a second before snapping her neck. And just when you think everything is over, now that Kratos, free from madness and solely seeking truth, has slain all the Furies, you'd be wrong. Before her death, Alecto made Orcos the Oath Keeper of Kratos. As long as Orcos lives, the chains of Ares still bind Kratos. Knowing this, Orcos asks Kratos to give him an honorable death. And so, Kratos, perhaps for the first time, kills someone he truly considers a friend, even though he doesn't want to. It becomes a painful, unforgettable moment seared into his memory. Kratos was searching for the truth. And if you're wondering what that truth was, it's the truth behind the murder he committed, the slaughter of his wife and child. That horrifying memory resurfaces in full clarity, becoming an image that will haunt him for the rest of his life. And when our story ends, Kratos, now free from the madness of the Furies but still tormented by the reality of his past, burns down the only home he knows and sets off on a journey to make amends. And that, in full detail, was the story of God of War. Ascension, the prequel to the entire God of War saga. This marks the end of the first episode in this 8-part series I've planned. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and comment to help motivate me to make more. You can also support the channel by sharing my videos on social media. Take care of yourselves. See you in the next video, covering the story of Chains of Olympus. Goodbye for now.